Welcome back to Drafting with Mark, and in this video I'm just going to draw this one in 2D, including creating an isometric. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and stay tuned, and we're going to get this one done. Alright, so in this video you're going to see me create all of the views in 2D, and I'm also going to create the isometric. I will warn you before we get started on here, this is going to be a super duper long video. So hopefully I could try to get it in under 30 minutes, but I'm guessing that I will not, so it's going to probably go over 30 minutes. I'm going to put a title block around this one, and the method that I'm going to be using is just going to be the annotation option. So I'm not going to do it in paper space. Now, if you're curious about seeing it in paper space, refer to the first video when I created this using a 3D model, right? When I did the 3D model of it and I switch over to paper space, those are going to be the exact or kind of roughly the same steps that you will use. And I do have other videos where I did this using paper space or did some other stuff of that nature. And also, if there's something else that you would like to see me do or just pertaining to this one, go ahead and comment down below and I'll make sure that happens. So alright, let's go ahead and get started. And we kind of know what's going on this one if you watched any of my first videos, but if this is the first time you're watching this one, I'm going to go step by step and include every single thing that I got to do for this one. Alright, so I'm going to jump over to AutoCAD now. So in this video, I'm going to try to add chapters along the way as I get to doing certain things. So if you don't want to see me draft this by any chance, or you just want to see the isometric or me get into the dimensioning and title block stuff, I'll make sure I try to include that so you can skip ahead to those chapters throughout the video. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is do our normal housekeeping, which is go ahead and turning off the grid. I'm going to turn on the ortho mode. Here I have my dynamic input showing. Remember, if you want to turn your dynamic input on, it's going to be the 3 bars here to the right, and then you're going to scroll up and make sure that there's a check next to dynamic input. Some of the other things I just like to make sure is on is these are going to be the running O snaps that I'm going to use throughout the video. And like I said, or you see me doing many other videos, if there's something else or another O snap that I need to do, it's quick to add it here, or just type in the first 3 letters of that O snap. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with kind of creating the front view of this, right? So remember that I have that C kind of shape there. I'm going to start off creating a circle, center radius. I'm going to place it here, and then that radius will be 60, right? Now, I probably should have put that at the origin, but we can move things and we can also move the UCS. Let's go ahead and zoom the extents. Then I'm going to zoom out a little bit, meaning that I probably should have put this circle right at the center of that. Well, that also gives me a chance to show you how to use the move command here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to move, and I'm going to move this circle, and I'm going to move it from this center point, right? I'm going to click here, and now to move that at a specific location, which means the origin, I have to turn the dynamic input off. So I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to type in 0, 0, then hit enter, and you'll see that it does move to that origin location. Let's go ahead and turn the origin back on. The dynamic input back on. Alright, from here, I'll go ahead and kind of complete the next step here. Let's go back to circle, center radius. Let's place it at this center. And then this one has a origin of 40. A radius of 40. Alright, I'm going to kind of continue building off of this. I'm going to draw a line from the origin here. And I can type in 0, 0 if you don't want to go and select the actual center of that circle. And then I'm going to drag this direction and I'll type in 80. Alright. I do have the diameter of that, so I'm just going to go ahead and offset that right now. So I'll go to offset. Half of the 40, which is the diameter, is going to be 20. And then I'm just going to do an offset of that line there going both sides. Alright, let's go ahead and complete this by drawing a line going right across from that endpoint to this one. Alright, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit already. And I'm just going to type in TR as I can kind of speed this video up a little bit. But if you're looking for the trim command, you know it's located here. So I just type in TR and hit enter. And then I'm just going to start trimming off these portions here. All right. Next, I need to figure out how long this part is going out to here. So I'm just going to select this line here. I'm going to drag it out this direction, and I'll go ahead and type in 70. Next, I'm going to go ahead and offset this line, half of that 28, right? So I can go to offset. And if you don't feel like doing the math and figuring out that that is 14, you can also type in 28 divided by 2 as the offset distance. As long as the numerator doesn't have any decimals, this works fine. And then let's go ahead and offset that. Go in that direction, and then this one going this direction, right? I'm going to go ahead and draw a line going right across from that endpoint to connect here. Okay, so now that I have all of this done, let's go ahead and get rid of this line here. And I'm just going to select this line here and delete it. Let's go ahead and go back to the trim command. So I'm going to the actual icon. And then I'm just going to trim this one forward here. And I'm also going to trim in between here. The reason I'm going to do that is that'll just make that fillet go easier, and then I can connect those lines back when I'm done. So let's go to fillet, radius, and then we're going to find that the radius of that is equal to 2. I do have more than one, so I will select the multiple option on my command line, and then I'll just start filleting this shape. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, that radius is 5 actually. I just looked at it. I was looking at the other radius. Let's go ahead and delete these two. I'll go back to fillet, radius, tell it that it's 5, and then I have multiple. And then I'll go ahead and make these 5. Alright, now I have those two lines that I do need to join, so I'm just going to zoom into here. I'll select this line here. I'm going to zoom into the top portion here. Let's go ahead and select that line. I'll zoom out underneath modify. I'm going to choose the join option, and you're going to see that it does connect those two lines together. Alright, so let's now work to the bottom half of this. And we see that there's a line that's going this direction, a distance of 50. So I'm going to go to line just by typing the L, enter. I'll start at the origin, which is 0, 0. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to go this direction and type in 50. Alright, now the overall length of this should be 140. So I'm just going to create a line, a vertical line here to the side. Going here, going straight down is 140. I'm going to move this one. So I'm just going to select this line. I'm going to select this center grip. And then I'm going to place it on that endpoint. Now the diameter of these kind of circle parts that are on the end here is located or has a diameter of 70. So half of 70 is 35. You can also use the division thing that we used earlier. So I'll just go to offset. I'm going to type in 35 as my offset. I'm going to select the line I just created here. I'm going to offset one to that side and one to this side. Alright, let's go ahead and connect the lines on the endpoints here. So I'm just going to do a line going down to here and a line going down to here. Alright, so if we remember, the inside radius here is set to 40 and the outside one is set to 60. So I can use that to my advantage by going back to the offset command, type in 40 as my offset distance, and then I'm just going to use this line I created here, and that's going to place those lines on that. Let's go ahead and hit escape, go back to offset, type in 60, and then I'm going to offset this middle line here, going up here, and this one coming down to here. Alright, let's do a little extending. So I'm just going to use extend. I'm going to extend these lines going down to here. Okay. And now I can do some trimming to get rid of the rest of the stuff here. Let's go ahead and escape. Let's go ahead and get rid of this line here. And then I'm going to go back and use the trim command that we used from before. And I'm going to trim these off. Now, I will tell you that if you watch the video where I did this in 3D AutoCAD, you will see that I kind of created these shapes a little bit differently. But it doesn't matter. There's no kind of right way to do these. There's definitely a wrong way to create them, but there's no right way. All right, let's kind of go ahead and finish trimming off these. Let's go ahead and get all of those in the middle here. And we're gonna, actually, I should leave that there, right? Let me go ahead and undo that line back. And that should be enough for what we need, right? I don't quite have all the information that I need to create where this kind of vanishing point is. Right now, what I do have is that if I fillet with a radius of 2, and I do have multiple, is that I can go ahead and fillet these outside ones, which is located here. But I'm going to have to do some more work to find out where it actually vanishes on the inside. So I'm going to leave it right here for right now. Let's start working on the top portion here. So the first thing I want to do is start off by creating that circle that's here. I'm just going to use a 2-point circle. And I'm going to go from this endpoint to that endpoint. I'll go ahead and move this circle going up. And it really doesn't matter the distance. You can see if you're looking next to my cursor, I'm about at 102. So I can type in 100 and that should be plenty enough space. Let's go ahead and place in our circle that's on the inside of that has a diameter. So circle, center diameter. I'm going to go ahead and click to the center of this circle. And the diameter is 40. So I do have that. Next, I can go ahead and bring these objects up here to the top since they are, exactly the same. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line, just kind of a reference line here. Now, I don't really need it. I can copy this up and I can track off of the center of here. But I'm just going to give you a reference line here. So I'm just going to draw a vertical line going right across. And this is one of those steps that if you don't quite understand how to use maybe OSNAP tracking or something along that line, you can always draw reference lines and delete them. So I can go ahead and move this. Then I'm going to go from this midpoint up to here. And I shouldn't have moved that. I should have copied it, but that's a good idea. That way I can actually show you the other step as well. So I would have used the copy command and created a copy of that, right? So let's go ahead and undo this. Let me go ahead and erase this. So if you had it, just replace the move command with the copy command. I'll go to copy, and I can copy these objects. Go ahead and hit enter there, and I'm going to click on this midpoint, and then I'm just going to go and touch the center here. And then when I move my cursor back, I can track off of it and do a left click here. So some people actually like that method a little bit better than the other one, right? All right, what I need to do here now is that the width or the thickness of this kind of U shape here is defined as 40, right? It happens to be the same size as my inner circle here, and it's also the exact same size of these lines here. So when I go and use the extend command, I'm just going to extend these lines going down to here. All right, the benefit of this is that it gives me my vanishing edge, what I was looking for here on the bottom view. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and create a line going straight down, but I'm going to use a construction line, right? So I'm going to use a construction line here. I'm going to go and tell it that I need it vertical, and then I'm just going to click on that endpoint here. All right, so what I mean by that is that this is now the vanishing edge which I was looking for earlier. Let's go ahead and trim this off just so we can get everything set up for our fillet. So I'm just going to trim off this line here, between here, and then finally here at the bottom. Okay, now when I go to the fillet command, I'm going to set my radius. It's going to still equal 2, so I'm just going to hit enter, and it's going to have multiple. Let's zoom into here, and I'm going to select this line here, and then I'm going to fill it with this line here. Exact same thing on the other side, right? So I'm going to fillet this line with this one. Then I'm going to hit escape. Then let's go ahead and use the extend command. And we're going to extend these lines going back. Okay, so there's kind of my vanishing edge here to the inside. Let's go ahead and get rid of these center lines here. And we can get rid of our long extension line here, or our construction line. So So I'm just selecting them and hitting delete on my keyboard. Let's go ahead and create another construction line that's vertical. And we're going to place them here at the quadrants. So I'm just going to place it at these two quadrants. Let's go ahead and escape. And then what I'm going to do is trim off these lines here. So I'm going to go to the trim command. And like I did before, I'm just going to cut right through here. I'll cut through here. And I'll trim through here. Let's go down to here. Let's go ahead and trim off these portions on here. Go ahead and hit escape and then delete this part here. Okay, so now I need to kind of define where my kind of shape is as it's going here, right? I have kind of a horseshoe type deal that's going here, and then I do have a center line or a hidden line that's going through the middle here. First, let's go ahead and define that arc there. So I'm going to draw a line. That's going to be vertical, right? So I'm using these construction lines again. And I'm going to place two of them here. I'm going to place one at this endpoint here. And then I'm going to place the other at this midpoint. Let's go ahead and, since we have it here, and place the other one at this midpoint. Alright, so what I have here is now I do have what I need to create that arc shape here, right? I noticed that it's going to be kind of located right along here, and it's going to kind of arc into here, and then it'll go down to here, right? I'm going to trim this off just so I can take advantage of some other stuff here. So let's go to trim, and then I'm just going to cut right through here, and I'll cut right through here. Alright, now that kind of shape won't be as pronounced as it was in 3D, but it should work what we need. I'm going to go to arc. And then I'm just going to click this endpoint, that midpoint, and then back to this endpoint. Let's go ahead and erase these two lines here. And now you see I do have that arc kind of shape there. This is going to be a hidden line for me, so that should be fine. There's no need to worry about that part. So now you can see that this top view is indeed done, right? All right. So now let's start working on this other view here, which is located on the side. So what I have first is that I'm going to go ahead and select and draw a 2-point circle, right? So 2-point circle. Click this endpoint here to this endpoint. Go ahead and escape. Let's go ahead and move this. So I'm just going to select this point here, hit the enter button, and drag it over. Let's call it 150. Now we're able to create the other circles that surround this. So circle, center diameter. And I'm just going to start right at this center. And it has a diameter of 40. Alright, let's go ahead and use some construction lines here to create the other kind of path of where my lines are. So I'm just going to go to construction line, horizontal. And then I'm just going to click these two endpoints in the back here. And these two in the front. Go ahead and hit escape after that. Go ahead and create another construction line that's vertical. Let's go right to the center of that circle there. Use the copy command. Create the vertical line that you just created. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm just going to click here. Drag this direction. I'll type in 20, enter, and then 35. Alright, we got kind of some messy things going on here. Let's go ahead and clean up some of this stuff. So I'm going to go to trim. I'm just going to cut right down here and get rid of that portion of the stuff going on here. I'm going to trim off this portion that's going right down this way and down this way. Clean this up just a tad bit more. I'm just going to trim off that part here. And that should be kind of a good point to where we need it to be. Alright. Let's go ahead and kind of define a little bit more of this. What I like to do is get rid of these long lines, and that's why I trim them over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these lines here. Next, let's work on the next portion of here. Let's go ahead and draw horizontal. And this time I'm going to go from that endpoint to that endpoint. Let's go ahead and start trimming this one. So let's go ahead and trim right between here. We can trim off the other side of this as well. So I'm just going to trim here and here. I'm going to zoom into this portion here, and I'm going to trim off these top parts for now. Alright, and we do have that shape kind of taken hold of what we needed to do. Let's go ahead and trim off these two portions here as well. Alright, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Let's go ahead and get rid of these long lines here. And now I can kind of concentrate on my shape and see that I do have everything that I need, right? I have that drawn, I have that, yes. So everything looks about right on this side. Let's go ahead and delete these two lines here, as we don't need them. Let's use the mirror command. So I'm going to go to mirror. Just going to put a window around this stuff right here. Now, I do have two other lines that I need to select, which is going to be these two. Go ahead and hit enter. Let's go from that endpoint going down to this endpoint. Okay, escape out of that. Go ahead and trim off these portions. Alright, I do have some extra lines in here, right? Meaning that these two lines are separate and I have some other separate lines. Let's go ahead and get rid of my middle line here. The way you can kind of clean that up really quick is to just use the overkill command, which is located here, or this little broom. So I'm going to go to overkill. It's going to ask me to select objects. I'm just going to put a window around this. Enter. It's going to bring open this dialog box. I'm just going to hit enter. And what it does is that it does clean up the overlapping and duplicate segments. So if these two lines are the same, now they are as one. Let's go ahead and finish by putting the rest of our hidden lines into here. So I'm just going to draw a line going right across here. Likewise going across here. I do have a couple of more going up to here. And I'm just hitting the enter button and escape just to kind of get me out of the command, and then I'll go back and hit enter here. Click on that endpoint, come down, escape, hit the enter button, go from that endpoint, come down, and then hit escape. So that's kind of my quick way of doing that, right? All right. So now you can see that we have completed the 2D drafting portion of it, right? So the next phase I'm going to go into is going to be creating the isometric of this one. So remember that if this is something that you want to skip past, you can do that and just go right into doing the drafting portion of this and doing the dimensions. All right, so let's go ahead and start on creating an isometric. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell AutoCAD that I need to create an isometric, right? So I'm just going to select this icon here. You should see your cursor change, right? So I have this cursor changing. I need to create a couple of ISO circles and things of that nature. So I'm going to start off by going to ISO circle. I have to type in the word ellipse, so that's EL, enter, and then I'll get the ISO circle option here. So I'll click here. I'm just going to place it here. I'm going to draw it out a little bit, so I'm just pulling it out, and the radius that I'm going to need for my first one is going to be 60. Let's go ahead and take a look over here. Let's go ahead and create the next one. So EL, and then I'm just going to go to ISO circle. I'm just going to type in I enter. I'm going to go to this center, and this one has a radius of 40. So those are my two circles that I needed before, right? All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm just typing in L enter. I'm going to go back this direction. I'm going to type in 50. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Let's draw a line. So L enter, go on a vertical line going straight down at 140. Go ahead and hit escape. I'm going to select this line here. I'm going to select the midpoint here, and I'm just going to place it here on this circle. Let's go back to ellipses, so EL. Then I'll type in I for ISO circle. Let's go ahead and adjust our UCS, or our view. So basically I need to go to isometric top, so I'm just going to switch it here. I'll place my circle here. I do have a diameter, so I'm just going to select the word diameter. And then I'm going to type in the diameter of that, which is 70. Let's do that again. So I'm going to go to ellipse, EL, enter. Then I'll type in I, enter. I'm going to click here. I'm going to kind of give a preview. I'm going to type in D, enter. And then I'll type in 40. Alright, so I'm going to copy this going down, right? So we do need to know the thickness of that. The good thing about having your drawing created here is that I can get the measurement off of here. So I can go here and I can say, hey, what's the measurement up here? And you can see that this is 30. So that's going to allow me to copy this, right? So I can take both of these two circles, go to copy, pick a base point here. Now I have to switch, right? Instead of going down here to the bottom and switching this, you can also hit F5 and that's going to rotate it, right? So I'm in isometric right now. I'm going to aim down this direction and I'm going to type in 30. Go ahead and hit escape. And now I'm going to copy both of these, right? So I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to use a copy command. I'm going to go into this center up here. And then I'm going to place it right onto here. All right. Let's go ahead and do some things like we did before in the 2D drafting. I can go ahead and get rid of this line here. But I'm going to go to copy. And I'm going to select this line here. Enter. And I know the distance that I want to go this way, right? So I'm going to click here and I want to go up a distance of 40. Enter. And then I want to go up a distance of 60. Enter. Likewise, going down, I'm going to come down 40. Go ahead and hit enter. And then 60. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and trim off this circle here. All right. So I'm going to go to trim. And this time I will select some cutting edges. So I'm going to go to cutting edges. And I'm going to off these two lines that I kind of, copied. Is what I'm going to be using as my trimming stuff, right? So then I'll go to enter. So those are my cutting edges. So when I select these circles now, it's going to trim back to those. And that looks perfect to me, right? Looks really good. Now we need to know how far this distance kind of goes down into this, but we don't know that quite yet. Right now it's in the right orientation. Another thing that I can go ahead and do is get rid of the vanishing edges, meaning that I can draw a line now, and I should have some quadrants show up at the vanishing edge. So I'm going to click here, then I'm just going to go straight up and click at this quadrant here. Let's go ahead and trim off this portion. So I'm going to trim between here. Let's zoom into here, and I'm going to start trimming off right around this bottom circle. And I'm going to stop here because I don't know where this bar here in the front is going to lie. And I'll do the same here at the bottom. So I'm just going to trim this portion off here. All right, and that's a good place to stop at on here. Also, I see that I will not see these inside circles here, so I can go ahead and delete these two circles. All right, let's go to the copy command. Let's go ahead and select my horseshoe kind of shape here, including these two lines. All right, go ahead and hit enter. Pick a base point. And I'm going to go this direction. Now remember the thickness of that is 40, so I'm going to type in 20 here. And then I'm going to go back this direction and I'll type in 20. Okay. So it's kind of looking like we got a good mess going on here, which is that is okay. It's acceptable. And it will get a little bit confusing, right? So what I usually like to do is that the middle line here, I'll go ahead and change that into a different color. And I'm kind of looking through this as I kind of define through here. So I have all of these selected, right? That's my middle line that's going through this. Underneath here, I'm just going to select the drop down and I'll make that red. Okay. So what that does is that allows me to kind of see what I'm working with here, if that makes any sense, right? All right. I have this kind of intersecting with this portion of this line. Right, so this is the top of that, and then this is the bottom of that. Let's draw a line going straight up from here. So I'm going to go line, and then I'm just going to come straight up. Okay. So now I see that this white line here is where it's going to intersect with that other one, right? So therefore, when I go to trim, I'm going to trim off that portion here. And then I'm going to select this white line that's here. And I have one more portion that's located here. Okay. So there that part is. And I might need to go ahead and start turning some things off, but I think I'll be okay right now, right? So that's that portion that's going into here. Maybe I missed it. Actually, I think I did. You know what I'm going to do, since most of these lines are kind of getting blurred and running over, I probably should have worked with one half first and then the other half. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and undo back to a certain point. Oh, okay. And I'm going to undo back to this portion here. Yep, that's going to work a lot better. All right, so these lines here is I'm going to go ahead and copy just those lines. I'm going to come this direction and type in 20. Okay. And from what I can do here is I'll do the exact same thing I did before, is that I'm going to make these lines red. And I probably eventually could have figured out through all of that stuff, but it was getting to where a bunch of lines were really getting confusing. And it was going to be a little difficult kind of weeding through all of that stuff. Okay. Oh, we can go ahead and get rid of that line as well. Alright, so now these white lines here is where I do have my intersection happening. So let's draw a line from that intersection here, going straight down to here. Let's go ahead and trim off this portion here. And I'm just kind of working this around, and then I'll get this white line that's located somewhere here. Perfect. All right, so this is where this portion stops at. Meaning that this circle here that's running along the back here, I can go ahead and trim this part off now. So let's go to trim. I'm just going to kind of walk this part around to that. So there's that portion here. All right, and I can kind of see through it and see this one. And let's do the exact same thing on the top side here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line going straight up from here. And it's going to intersect in here. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this red line here. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the other stuff first. And the toughest part is going to be kind of blending that all into here. All right. Let's go ahead and draw a circle, ISO circle here. So EL, enter. I'm going to come to this center here. Sorry, let's go back to EL, enter. I didn't select the ISO circle. And then I'm going to place it at this center of this circle, right? These two circles. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to type in D for diameter. It's going to be set to 40. Then let's go ahead and move this, or copy it actually. Let's copy it. Click a base point here. Let's switch to isometric left. I'm going to drag it forward a distance of 80. And then I have that one. And then let's go ahead and create another ISO circle on the inside of that one. So draw. Sorry, EL, enter. I, enter. Go right to the center of here. D, enter. Make sure you switch back to isometric right. The diameter is going to be set to 28. Go ahead and copy this portion going this direction. Once again, I'm going to switch back to isometric left. Or sorry, isometric right. Looks like it's not switching to the right. Okay, that's the way I need it to go. Going this direction, so I'm going isometric right, and this is 70. go ahead and finish off by drawing some lines here. So I'm just going to do the vanishing edges going here. One that's going to here. And there's the quadrant. Then I'm going to do the ones on the inside here. So find that quadrant, go into that one. Then I'm going to find that quadrant and bring it to this quadrant. Alright, so now that's going to allow me to go ahead and get rid of these red ones here. And that should eliminate a lot of confusion that's happening with this drawing. And once again, you'll also see this is why, 3D is a lot better or happening or equipped for this kind of stuff. All right. Okay, so that should be actually at that end point. Okay. Let's go ahead and finish trimming off these portions. Next, I'm going to go ahead and copy these parts here. So I'm kind of copying all of my horseshoe here. And I'll go to copy. I'm going to switch to isometric right. Pick a base point here, come this direction, and the thickness of that should be set to 40. We are missing the vanishing edge on the back side of here, so go ahead and find that quadrant and go straight down. Alright, so what you see is that we do have an arc that's located going right around to here, right? Easiest way of doing that is to take this line, or that curve there, go ahead and copy it from this endpoint to that endpoint. Use the trim command and then just trim off that part that you don't need. So you see that that wraps around and it goes here. And let me zoom in a little bit more to here, right to that intersection, right? So that's kind of where our line is going there. You can see also that this vanishing edge here trims off to here, right? So I'm just going to trim it right here. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of our other circle that's on the inside here. So I'm just going to kind of walk this around, because all of that is going to be buried underneath here, so you're not going to even see it at all. Alright, and you're also not going to see this line that's going vertical here, so that's not going to be seen. And we do have the top part of this thing completed now. Let's take a look on the inside of this one, and you can see that that wraps around to there. And let's go ahead and get rid of that circle here. So I'm just going to delete it. And I'm just kind of looking for more clarity in things that I can see. Let's go ahead and get rid of this, and also this can be deleted. Right? Here's my vanishing edge line, and I'm trying to see, do I need that? That just tells me where this portion's, right? Alright, kind of can see it now. I can go ahead and trim that portion away and kind of walk it back to where it intersects with here. And let's go ahead and place a couple of more lines on here. So I got a line that goes across from here to here. Then I have one that's drawing across from that quadrant going to that quadrant. And all this stuff is going to be kind of cleaned up here in a little bit, right? I see that I have this kind of portion, this horseshoe kind of shape going around there. Let's go ahead and trim off that portion. So let's go ahead and trim. Oops, looks like I trimmed the wrong piece off. Let me go and zoom in a little bit more. I want to trim off that part here, this one here, and I'm kind of walking this shape right around to when it stops to here. And likewise here. Okay. I think I do have everything on the inside there. I have it where it stops. It goes to here. Let's go ahead and hit escape. I accidentally hit the F1 button. Alright, so I have everything that I think I need on this one. Let's go ahead and start trimming off of here. So that trims off to here. I have this back portion that's going along to here. You will not see any of this. So I can delete that. I can also delete that as well. Alright, so now the only part that I have is just try to figure out where this kind of ellipse is. And this is going to be your major problem with any time you're doing isometrics in AutoCAD, right? To try to find exactly where this line hits at and things of that nature. Yeah, I can do some kind of rough measurements along this side and say, hey, that distance, and let me go ahead and get a distance on that. If I measure, and it looks like I'm going to have to use the actual distance command here. If I go and get an actual distance, this will tell me how far that is. So it's 20 going down. Right? So that tells me that roughly it's around 20. And I can kind of fudge that in, but I'm not going to ever kind of get to something where I can, you know, put that actual arc into there. So that's going to be my kind of limitations with it. But I am going to kind of mock it in there as best as I can. So I use the lengthen command. And then I'm going to choose total. I'm going to use that 20 that we used before, or that we just found out, and I'm just going to shorten these lines to that 20. All right. Now, I do have a benefit of knowing that this goes all the way to this intersection here. So I will extend this one back to here. So now I need some kind of arc that kind of wraps around and kind of connects to that. And that's kind of what I need. Easier said than done. I can try to use an arc, which is a 3-point arc here, and kind of, you know, mess around and get something in there. I can turn the ortho off here and kind of play with something that's close enough, right? And that arc needs to kind of be right on the inside of here and here. You're going to see that this is going to be a lot tougher because it's more or less a compound arc there, right? I'm trying to think of some other things that I can do, and kind of right off the top of my head, I might can get away with creating a spline, and maybe I can use a spline here and kind of wrap around here and kind of maybe put another one in here somewhere, and then kind of play with it that way, right? So that's more or less where you're going to run into your troubles at any time you're creating something along this magnitude. All right, let's go ahead and finish this up a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of play with this just a hair. And maybe I should have added in another vertices into that, but for what we need this to look like, this will be fine. Let's go ahead and trim off that portion on the inside. And trim off that around here. Another thing that you're going to see that's going to be my limitations is that I can't really put those fillets that's located around here. This is nothing more than a pictorial of what's happening here, so this will kind of be fine for what we need it to be. Let's go ahead and draw a line from, let's see, I should have an endpoint somewhere here. And put the ortho back on. That goes right across to here somewhere. Yep. Let's go ahead and trim that off. Okay. So, there's my isometric that I needed. I do have all of that portion done, so if you trust me, when you're creating isometrics, it's really not needed in your drawing, and you're going to see me scale this thing down, and I'm not going to apply any other dimension to it. So this is strictly something that's optional. But the next stuff, now let's start getting ready to go into the drafting portion of it, back to drafting as far as putting in dimensions and things of that nature. All right, so let's go ahead and turn isometric off. Now we're ready to go ahead and start the drafting start for this. So let's start off with a rectangle. I'm going to place the rectangle at 0, 0, enter. And then I'm going to place it at 17, 11. It's going to be my top portion, right? Let's zoom into this. And then what I'm going to do is just offset a distance of 0.25. Let's go ahead and take our rectangle and offset it to the inside. Go ahead and hit escape. Go ahead and select both of these rectangles. Select the word create. And I'm just making this into a block I'm going to name it as TB. Just standing for title block. It's located already at the lower left corner, 0, 0, and everything else should be fine. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Zoom out. I'm going to select my title block here, do a right click, and go to Properties. Alright, now I can start adjusting the scale of this, right? So let's go ahead and play around with some scales. And we can see that 20 and 20 is a little bit too small for this to get everything in. So let's see what 30s looks like. So I have a 30 here and a 30 here. And that might work for everything that I need. Alright, so let's go ahead and move this to the inside. So escape. Let's move these to the inside here. I have to turn off my ortho. And I can kind of position these and say, hey, yeah, that's kind of what I need this to be. If you did do the isometric, that's what we have here. I'm going to first scale this down. So I'm going to go to Scale. Go ahead and put a window around this. Enter. Say, click here. And let's make this thing, I don't know, let's make it and see what half of it is. It's 0.5. That looks like plenty enough room for what we need. Okay, I'm just going to go to the Move command again. So Enter. Move this. I'll click out here. And I'm just going to place that somewhere here. Alright. So I have my isometric kind of in there, and I have all of my shapes in there. Now this do look a little bit too big, so I am going to increase the size of this just one more time. So I'm going to select the title block, and let's see what 35 has to offer for us. Yeah, 35 gives me a little bit more room. So let's go ahead and move this stuff around and reposition it. So I'm just going to kind of move these up. Now remember that these have to stay in line with each other. So this is when I'm going to definitely make sure my ortho is on. And I want to move this up, going straight up this direction, right? And so when I move both of these are going to have to move up together. And then I'm going to move these going this direction. Alright, so that looks perfect to me. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some hidden lines and my center lines on here. So I'm going to go ahead and create those layers. So I'm just going to go to the layer property here. I'm going to wait till the dialog box opens. I'm going to click on New. I'm going to type in the first one, which is going to be center, right? Then I'll go ahead and create another new one. Looks like I created 2 more new ones. I'm going to go ahead and make this one my hidden layer. And then if I have any other, layer that I might want to add to this, and I don't think I do, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. So I'm going to select this layer here and delete it. All right, so my center, let's go ahead and make that a color. Let's make it cyan. Hit OK on that. Underneath the line type, I select the word continuous. Go ahead and go to Load. Let's go ahead and make it a center 2. Hit the OK button. And then I'm going to select center 2 and hit the OK button. That should change that one to center 2. Let's go to the hidden lines here. Let's say make that one red. Hit OK. We're going to select the word continuous on this one. I'm going to go to Load. Scroll down until you find the word hidden 2. Hit OK. Select the word hidden 2 and hit OK. Alright, so I'm trying to see that, okay, it finally switched. It was kind of delaying on me a little bit. Alright, so it looks like we got everything that we needed created for this one. Let's go ahead and close this dialog box. Let's go ahead and make our center lines and hidden lines what they need to be. So this line here I know is a hidden line. These 2 lines here. So while I have these selected, I'm just going to go to the drop down here and select hidden. I do have the scale factor on these, so I'm not worried about that quite yet. Let's go ahead and select these lines here on the inside here, as well as these 2 lines here. Come to the top portion here, and I'm selecting these lines here. I'm just going to go ahead and place those also on that hidden layer. Now remember that what our scale factor is. And we can always go back and verify that by selecting it and looking in the properties windows. We have one that's set to 35. And now I'm hoping that I have 35 as one of my annotation options here. And if I don't, I can also use the standard option. 35 is not one of my listings here. So if I scroll down and I go to custom, I'm going to select the one that says 30. I'll select the word add. I'm just going to type in 1:35. And then my paper units will be set to 1. My drawing units will be set to 35. Go ahead and hit OK. You can see that it did place it right between there and then hit OK. So now when I go here, I can select 35. Right? So when I select the scale factor of 35, nothing really changes yet. So I'm just going to type in RE, and that stands for regen. And when I hit regen, you can see that now my line types did come up. All right, let's go ahead and do our center marks, right? But before we do that, we're going to type in the center layer command first. We're going to set that equal to sin. And now I'm going to switch over to annotation, center marks, and I'm just going to select the big portions here. And you can see that that does not give me the extension that I need on that. And let's zoom into that. So let's go ahead and delete that. Let's type in the center EXE. And let's go ahead and make that number, let's make it 3. So now when I use the center mark command, I'm going to get that full extension that's going across there. Let's kind of go ahead and finish with all of my center marks that I need. All right. Let's go ahead and do our center layers next. So I'm just going to select these 2 lines here. Let's go ahead and hit the enter button to go back to this. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm just going to select these kind of different sizes here. And I think I have all of my center marks that I'm going to need. All right. Starting with this one. Let's go ahead and select this one. Select the square. And I'm just going to place it at that midpoint. Likewise on this one. So I'm going to go here. Click here. I'm just going to click at that midpoint. Here in the front, I'm just going to select this one. I'm going to select the square, and then I'm going to come and select it at that endpoint here. Same thing here. I'm going to select it, select the square, and place it at that endpoint. Go ahead and hit escape on that. And then on this side here, I'm going to select it here, grab the square, come down to that midpoint here. And it seemed not to like that, right? As it did not give me any kind of center lines. Oh, there it is. I think something is wrong with my computer. I know this has been a super long video, so it's kind of taking a minute to kind of work with me and catch up with my functions here. All right, so now I have all of my center marks on here, and I have all of my hidden lines that are on here. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and set up my dimension style. So I'm selecting that icon here, double click on annotation, let's go to modify. I always like to start with the primary units tab and work my way to the left. So I'm going to go to primary units, just going to suppress the trailing zeros. Underneath the fit, I don't have anything to worry about here. I'll go to the text one. The text height seems to be fine, and it's going to be a little big on this drawing, but I think I have enough room. Well, let's be on the safe side here. Let's go to 0.125. Underneath our symbols and arrows, let's go ahead and change that to none. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Make sure that you were changing the annotation one here. Go to close. All right, now I'm ready to start doing all of my dimensioning stuff, right? So let's go ahead and do my linear dimension here from that endpoint to here. Let's go ahead and add another dimension, so a linear one from that endpoint to here. I'll go ahead and finish out this whole view here. Let's go ahead and put our diameter dimensions. And I do have one that's located here. I'll just hit the enter button as opposed to keep coming back and selecting the icons here. All right, let's go ahead and escape out of that. Let's come down to this view. Let's go ahead and start with our linear dimensions first. So let's go to linear. From here to here. I'm going to select the continue option. And then I'm just going to go right to that endpoint here. Let's go ahead and hit escape on that. Zoom into here. Got a couple of more linear dimensions. So I got one going from this endpoint to that endpoint. Also, I have one going here. Now remember, that's a continuous line, so I can hit the enter button to bypass selecting those two endpoints, right? Let's go ahead and move this one down. So I'm going to select the dimension and select here, kind of come down a little bit. Let's go ahead and do our radius dimensions next. So let's go to radius. And do another one on the top here. Let's go ahead and put a radius dimension here as well. Don't worry about that extension line there. We will turn that off. Let's go ahead and place the one that's located here. Always with this one as well. Okay. So I'm just going to double click this one. So escape out of the command first. Double click on here. And when it gives you the option to change the text, I always like to hit the home button on my keyboard. And then I'll type in 2x. Okay, go ahead and close it here. I'm going to select both of these two dimensions. Yep, let me escape. It's still in the editing phase here. I'll select this dimension and this one here at the bottom. I'm going to go over to the properties window. Then I'm going to find where it says extension line, and I'm just going to turn that off. Alright, and then with these two, I'm just going to select both of these. So I'm going to select the 28 and the 40. I'm going to go over to my properties window here. I'm going to scroll down to where it says prefix, and I'll type in %%C. Alright, and then lastly, let's go ahead and work on this one over here. So we're going to first start off with a couple of linear dimensions. So I'll go to linear, click here and to here. Let's go back to the linear dimension. Let's go from that endpoint to this one. Zoom in and work on the bottom part here. Still a linear dimension. So I'm going from here to there. I hit the enter button instead of going back to the top there. I'll go to these two endpoints. Now, I know I'm not supposed to dimension to these hidden lines here, but they're actually dimensioning to here. And I'm not trying to cover up those hidden surfaces. Okay, and then the last dimension that I need to put on this drawing is a dimension from this part to here. Let's go ahead and escape out of that. Zoom the extents. All right. And I know this is a super duper long video, and I want to thank you for sticking with me throughout the whole thing. You know, if you made it this far, then yes, this is awesome. And hopefully I kind of taught you some things about it. And I will be honest with you, it is painful sometimes doing isometric drawings, but that's one of the things that you can skip over if that's something that you want to do, right? So thank you once again for sticking with me these videos. If there's something that you would like to see me do or explain a little bit further, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I will try to either answer you in the comments or I'll kind of reply back to you with a video. All right. So lastly, again, thank you for watching and sticking with me this far. I'll see you in the next video.